What is up, YouTube? So today I have a different kind of video coming at you and a special announcement for the next couple of videos that are going to be coming out.
Welcome to the feast, I unleash, I'm a motherfucking beast.
So today's video is going to be about how I overcame my lower back injury issue-free, like I didn't re-injure myself, and how I did it safely and effectively. So this is something that I really wanted to film and get out on YouTube for you guys, not just to express how I got past my injury, but a lot of people get injured all the time, especially with lifting and using like improper form. People in the gym get injured a lot, whether it be from overuse, from improper form, whatever. And a lot of people don't know how to go about getting back to training normally after they're injured. A lot of people get re-injured and re-injured again and re-injured again because they were not approaching recovery in the proper way. So what I'm trying to express with my story is how to go about recovering safely and effectively, even if it's not the same kind of injury, even if you didn't injure the same area or the same like type of tendon, muscle, whatever. It doesn't matter. The approach should be the same, and it should be to be patient and to push your patience. So I'm going to get into my story and how and why I got injured. But before I do so, I just want to say that I will be releasing a series throughout the next 3 weeks of 3 of the most common injuries that happen in the gym and how to go about rehabbing them if you have them, or prehabbing them, which just means preventative rehab for maintaining your health in that area and being able to maintain longevity in the sport of bodybuilding and lifting, and not get those injuries, and how to keep those areas healthy. So if you're interested in hearing about what those injuries are and how you can rehab and prehab them, then please hit subscribe below. I'm going to be getting these videos out every single Monday morning for the next 3 weeks at 7 a.m. That's my upload schedule for the school semester, is once a week. So make sure you hit subscribe and hit thumbs up on this video if you are excited for that series. It's going to be called my Prehab Rehab series, something like that. I'll come up with it, or any suggestions you have for the title, please put them down below in the comment section. I really appreciate that. So without further ado, let's get into my story with my lower back injury that got me out of lifting for about a month. When I got injured, it was in late December of 2016, so this past year. So I was training legs about 2 to 3 times a week, every single week, and I was doing either hip thrusts or squats or deadlifts, or heavy Romanian deadlifts, and I was getting really strong in all my compound movements, and I was getting really excited about that. So I was able to hip thrust like over 225 pounds for reps, and what I was basically doing was I was hyperextending my lower back. So I wasn't getting the full contraction in my glutes, and I was using some of my lower back to push up on the hip thrust. But basically I was hyperextending and I pulled my lower back a little bit, and this had happened a few times in the past. Like I would just hyperextend on hip thrusts by going too heavy and not using just my glutes, and it would strain and it would just kind of be tight, and I would like have issues. Like I was able to bend over, but I would just feel that pain in my lower back. So I did that on Thursday, and then the next Monday I went into the gym, and the first thing I wanted to do was box squats. Like, I have never regularly incorporated box squats, but I just really wanted to do them that day. And my lower back was still tight and strained. So I warmed up, and box squats were feeling really easy, and I worked up to 135 and 145, I think, for sets of like 10. That is a lot of weight for me because I don't rep that much on normal squats, but since it's like a partial rep squat, I was definitely moving a lot more weight than I was used to. But I was getting a really good contraction in my glutes, and I was like, hell yeah, like this is heavy, but it's easy and whatever. And I leaned back, or like I put my butt back too far, so the bar was like here and this is my butt, so I put my butt back too far, and I was wearing a belt, so I was really surprised that this happened. But instead of just sitting down like this with my back upright, because I do high bar squats, I let my butt sit back too much to the box, and I stood up, started standing up, and I felt it like pop and like tear in my, and I heard it pop. my lower back, and it was the scariest thing in the entire world. And I literally had 145 pounds like on my back sitting on the box, and I was like, do I stand up? Do I try to like drop the weight? Like what the do I do? Like I don't know. So I ended up standing up and I didn't do anything further. I re-racked the weight, but as soon as I did, like all the adrenaline started to like go away, and I started to feel the pain in my lower back, and like I just felt like oh my god, this is it. Like I'm not gonna be able to lift heavy like ever again. Like that was the first thought that went through my head. Like I was catastrophizing, and I'm sure anyone who's gotten injured has thought that too. Like, oh my god, my career's over in this, because injuries, like painful injuries, like that's how you think about them. So I was feeling that, and literally 2 minutes after it happened, I could not bend over like this much without like terrible pain. So I was really stubborn, and this is not what you should do, but I like tried to keep working out because I had just started like box squats for my first exercise. So I went on the treadmill and walked for 15 minutes like really slowly, and I could feel the pain with every single step in my lower back because I was like extending my hips. And so that was a disaster. So I got off the treadmill and I like did some random like seated rows and like dumbbell shoulder press, and like I was just being really stupid and stubborn about it. I didn't hurt myself any further, but I definitely could have. But I was really frustrated at the fact that I couldn't lift that day. And in hindsight, I wish I had just told myself like, Marissa, go home. Like you don't need to get a full lift in, like it's fine. Because I put myself at risk for injury in that situation. So if you get injured, just go home and find a solution to the problem as soon as possible. Don't stay in the gym and try to work around it the second you get injured. Like that is possibly the worst idea ever, and I did that. So in hindsight, don't do that. And then I ended up going home, and I just used a heating pack and took a bunch of Advil. I think I took like 2 or 3 at a time, and I just laid there with the heating pack on my back, and I think I might have used ice as well. But find out what feels good for you. If something feels inflamed, then ice is probably going to be your best bet, like if it feels hot to the touch. But if it doesn't and it just feels like tight, then you might need heat. That's something you would want to discuss with your doctor about. So I immediately just started resting it, and like for the next like 2 days I could not bend over. And then on Wednesday I woke up and the pain was like completely gone, and I was like, oh my god, like praise Jesus, like it's gone forever. And so I went and I trained legs that day. I didn't do any compounds, I didn't squat, I didn't deadlift, I didn't hip thrust, but I did like all isolation type exercises, nothing that loaded the back. And I was getting really cocky, and I was like doing leg press, and I was like, this feels good, I can do it, I can do it. And then I tried a set of dumbbell Romanian deadlifts with like 20-pound dumbbells, and I was like, oh, this is so light, there's no way I'm gonna hurt myself. And I bent over and I felt it like pop again. And yeah, so that was when I was like, okay, this is kind of serious. I need to figure this out. I need to go to a doctor, and I need to get like an appropriate diagnosis so that I can like heal this the correct way. So the next thing I did was I scheduled an appointment with an orthopedic surgeon. So I like thought something was wrong in my spine, obviously. So I went to the orthopedic surgeon, got an x-ray. I did vlog about that, and my back was completely okay. My spine was fine. There was nothing wrong there, and that was like the biggest sigh of relief that I have ever had in my entire life, because I was like, if I like herniated a disc or something, like my career's over. Like I cannot keep lifting the way I want to lift like that. So my spine was okay, so that meant it was a muscle or tendon issue. And so the upside and the downside to that is that it just takes time and rest. So the doctor told me that I could do anything that didn't load the back for about 4 to 6 weeks. And I immediately figured out a lot of ways that I could still train legs, which I was very fortunate about. I have a couple videos of my leg days during winter break where I did like accessory only, like compound free lower body days, and I did that for the entire month of January. So that was the only way I trained. I did a lot of band work, I did a lot of machines, and I still made it work. And I I'm very grateful for that. And I would I would heat my back and take Advil every single night before bed. And that is how I basically like recovered it. Now getting into the application piece of this video, how long should you wait? How long should you rest for? How long should you wait until incorporating those exercises that may have injured you or may be risky back in again? So I injured myself in late December. I spent all of January not touching a barbell. So I didn't put a barbell on my back. I didn't use preloaded easy curl bars. I stuck to dumbbells, Bulgarian split squats, like machines, band work, dumbbell squats, where I would hold it up here, leg presses, lots and lots of machines, kickbacks, stuff like that. So I stuck to that for the entire month of January, so 4 weeks. And that was the minimum that they required me to keep everything off my back. After those 4 weeks, I started using the Smith machine unloaded, so the 15-pound Smith machine bar for things like lunges, a couple of sets of squats, but I was very, very, very careful about that. I still wasn't touching deadlifts, I wasn't touching normal squats, I wasn't touching Romanian deadlifts. So I started hip thrusting at the beginning of February, and my main priority with that was just using my glutes and not hyperextending my lower back. And I started with just 5 sets of 10 at a lightweight for me. Light and heavy are relative words. So light for me might be heavy for you. Light for you might be heavy for me. So keep that in mind. But I did 135 pounds for 5 sets of 10. That was very light for me, but it was a good way to start building back up to where I had been for hip thrusts. And I hip thrusted for every single leg workout since then in February. And I started squatting, I think in mid-February was the first time I squat. And again, I kept it very, very, very light. For me, light was 65 pounds for sets of like 10 to 12 or so. And that was the first time I squat. And I've been building up by adding 5 pounds every week to my squat and 5 pounds every week to my hip thrust since I have started. And that has been the way that I have built up my form perfectly so that this doesn't happen again, and so that I'm not just like throwing 135 on the bar one day on squats or something and being like, yeah, like I'm better, like I can do this, because you never know what can happen if you're not taking it slow. Also in February was when I started implementing core work and lower back work on a regular basis, and that was something I had neglected for a really long time that I think probably contributed a lot to the fact that I got injured. I have a very weak core. I've been dependent on a belt for a really long time, and I decided that I was just gonna throw the belt for a while and work on my core strength, work on my lower back strength, and make sure that when I start building up to my compounds again, that my core strength is not a lacking issue. So I started doing things like planks, hanging leg raises, knee tucks, TRX abs, weighted crunches, and hyperextensions on the lower back machine and on the little hyperextension bench for my lower back. And you can also do things like Superman, but those are some things that I use to help build up my stabilizers in my core and my lower back. With compound movements like the squat and deadlift and hip thrust, Romanian, those are very crucial muscles that you want to build to keep your form in check when you're going heavy. So make sure you are doing that. You are building up your weak spots when you are injured, so that when you come back from your injury, your weak spots are not holding you back anymore. I literally waited until this past Monday, March 13th, to deadlift since being injured in December. So I have played it safer than safe. I deadlifted on Monday and I deadlifted yesterday, sumo deads, and it felt great, honestly. I didn't use a belt yesterday too. So I was really happy about that because I feel like I've definitely waited long enough. So yeah, I basically just really waited my ass off. And the moral of the story that I'm trying to like get out to you guys is, when you get injured and you are given a time frame to rest for that time frame. Make sure you feel okay. And then when you are able to go back into those exercises that are risky or that injured you, make sure that you are doing it slowly, starting with something that's very easy for you. Do not jump back into the weights that you used to PR with, because that's how you're gonna hurt yourself again. It's really frustrating to start with lightweight and build up like week by week by week by week that way, but I promise you it's 100% worth it. Basically, just be patient, and then when you've run out of patience, push your patience further. That is really how I did it. And yesterday I deadlifted 135 for 4 sets of 7. That's not a lot for me, but I am just so happy to be deadlifting, and I am so happy to be squatting. I'm up to 105 pounds for sets of 6 were the last squats that I did, and then the next time I squat it'll be 105 for sets of 8, and then hip thrust I'm up to 185 now, and I'm just so happy to be back to that. I'm also Romanian deadlifting. I think that was the last thing I brought back in with my lower back injury, just because I like randomly re-injured it like I told you in the story. So that kind of like scared me to do, but now I'm back to Romanian deadlifting. Not super heavy yet, but I'm moving like 95 pounds around for Romanian, so that's really good. That's basically all I have to say about injuries, is just be patient and then push your patience further, because I'm still in the process of recovering. I'm not back to my optimal strength yet. I know I have more in me and I'm not pushing it, and it's March 17th today, so that is what I did to overcome my lower back injury and the strategies that I used. Obviously, if you've made it this far in the video, then you are interested in what I have to say. And I will say that I am not a doctor. I am not an orthopedic surgeon. I am not a chiropractor. I'm not your physician. I cannot tell you how long to wait on a specific injury. I cannot tell you whether you should be using ice or heat, how much Advil you should be taking, or ibuprofen. I shouldn't be telling you if you should take it at all. So keep that in mind. Like, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. If you have instructions from a doctor and you want to know more things that you can do to speed up your recovery, and you check with them and make sure that it's okay, you can take my advice and use it, as long as your doctor says that it's okay. So a little bit of a controversial topic for me to be talking about, I guess, but with that said, I'm not your doctor, and I know I'm not your doctor, so make sure everything is okay with them before you start implementing what I say. But I did want to put out as much advice as I possibly could about this, because this has just been a really big part of my life with my training as of late, so I figured that I would share it with you guys. That will be all for this video. And the next 3 videos will be my Rehab-Prehab series. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful, and hit the subscribe button. I can't talk today. Hit the subscribe button below if you want to see more from me. I will see you guys in the next episode of my Rehab-Prehab series. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.